priority orders. That does not mean that we put more time to those that have more importance or is more of a priority. It means that we are going to keep them in balance so that we end up having physically, psychologically, and spiritually balanced relationships. Because remember, we are a triune being. All of us are spirit, soul, and body. And anytime there is any kind of ill health in any area, it involves dysfunctionalities in all three. So if it is that you have a condition that you're trying to repair or to heal, you need to look at the contributory factors from all three parts of your triune being that caused you to come into ill health. So, based on all of that, we were looking at all the relationships that human beings have, and they are relationships with your creator God, or whoever your creator is. That's the primary relationship, because you were made for a purpose and you need to fulfill your purpose. Two, the second and most important relationship is that with your family. And we looked at the specific hierarchy within the family based on your state and your place within the family. Thirdly, there is a relationship with your purpose. And that is almost like the same one with the first relationship. Because once you recognize what your purpose is, then all your relationships will coincide with your purpose. That was number three. Fourthly, we all have relationships with our spiritual family. And that does not have to do with religion. It has to do with a body of persons that you relate to in terms of your philosophy of life and your way of life. And I want to sort of differentiate between the two. The philosophy has to do with your value system and the rules and regulations that you put on yourself, that you choose to embrace. That's the philosophy. The way has to do with your walk. Philosophy has to do with the words and your talk. The way has to do with your actual actions and how you carry out that value system. That's number four. Number five is your community. How do you relate to your community? How do you synchronize that relationship with the rest? And how do you relate in order to have peace, shalom, everything in perfect upright order, nothing missing and nothing broken? Because in effect, the absence of peace is the result of stress. And the opposite is the same. Stress is a result of the absence of peace. And so we need to learn how to live in a place of shalom. Because shalom is also the foundation for joy and love. No, not love. Joy and happiness. Shalom. What is the foundation for everything? Love. And so we are going to look at how we can express that love relationship that we have with our Creator. That is why it's the number one relationship with everything that impacts us and that we impact or relate to in however small a way. So, the last two I didn't mention are your relationships with your nation, which we did 2 days ago, and yesterday we did the relationship with the whole world. And that was quite an exciting and wow, far-reaching and impactful session, because we all relate to all of these relationships, whether in an active or a passive form. So, how are we going to put it all together? We are going to be doing some timetabling. First, we're going to have a 20-year timetable, and then we are going to carry it down, and you're going to get 7 pieces of paper at least, or get a book and you assign 1 page for each relationship to do the outline notes. First, you are going to look at your relationship with your Creator. What are your dreams and visions? What are your aspirations and goals? What are your objectives? Where would you like to be in 20 years in relationship to this relationship? Now you're going to put on the top, my relationship with God in 20 years. So you always start from the end. Why? Because that's what the Creator does. He starts from the end. What do you want to achieve? And then you go back to start all the steps that you need to get there. So let's just do this one so we get an idea of how they will all be done. Put on the top of the paper, my relationship with God. And then you put on the next one, my relationship with family. And the next one, my relationship with purpose. What I was born for, what I was created for, what are my dreams and visions, and what actually motivates me, and what I have a passion for. That's for you. Get that one together. Other persons have a challenge with that, but it should also be consistent with your job or career or what you are studying for in school. Good, because everything has to dovetail into that. Then after that, your spiritual family. What would you like to get together? A group of persons who believe the same way you do, who behave the same way that you do, that you are comfortable with, who have the same value systems. My relationship with my spiritual family. Where would you like it to be in 20 years? So let me tell you something. I don't care where you are now, because anything can be done in 20 years. I've taken a, what should I say now? Dysfunctional, dyslexic, learning impaired person from the inner city within, well, much less than 20 years. He probably did it in about 12. From that position, using this program, to the position of being a degree holder in 12 years. And it's just following the plan of putting out there, what do you want? Anything can be done. The plan was to go to a doctoral level in the 20 years from illiterate, couldn't read and write, right? And in 12 years, he was up to the first degree level. So it's not a plan that is just on paper. It's a plan that has worked. I have used this plan for myself. I am now into my 4th 20-year plan, right? And a few years into it. And every single time you make a plan, you are going to exceed your expectations. Because once you plan, then you're going to succeed. Once you fail to plan, you are going to fail. So all you have to do is just write it down. You are not the one going to bring it to pass. Your Creator is going to bring it to pass. This is why you need to know what is happening in here. What is the plan? So you are along the right track. Okay, we're still on the one with God. So you have written that down, and each paper has a different thing on the top. So you come back to the first sheet of paper, or if you're on your iPad or your computer or anything else, fine. But the first page, we are going to look. And you put, in 20 years, I would like to be this, have this, do this, you name it. And so in putting that down, you have ultimate. And what are you going to use? I mean, it must be impossible, because remember, if it is not impossible, then you do not need to engage the supernatural powers in it. So make sure it's impossible. Make sure it's stuff that you dream about, that you think that there's absolutely no way, based on your capabilities, your resources, you could ever reach it by your own effort. That is what you're going to write down. And you're going to write down everything through that relationship that you would like to achieve. And then after that, you're going to put next all those things you want to achieve. If you are going to achieve that in 20 years, what do you need to, where would you need to be at in 15 years? So the next place you put is 15 years. If I'm going to have a PhD at 20 years, I would at least have to have completed the master's by 15 years. So that's how we're going to do it. What steps down the ladder would you need to be at in 15 years? And then the one before it, underneath it, would be 10 years. And then the one underneath it would be 5 years. So what I suggest is that on one sheet you put 20 years and you put everything on the 20 years. The ultimate, where would you like to be? What would you like to have? Where would you like to have gone or have done? You know, if you want to have children and grandchildren at that point, or if you want to own a plaza, or if you want to have traveled around the world, if you want to, okay? And so it will take a whole page. On the back side of the page, you are going to put the 10-year, then the 5-year, then the 3-year, and then the 2-year, and then the 1 year. And then on the next page, you are going to do a timetable for the next 3 months. And in that timetable, you are going to now put out your day and how you are going to structure your day on a weekly basis. We all know how to make timetables. When we're going to school, we used to have a timetable and it says Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then down the side, you have from the time you awake or plan to be awake until the time you go to bed. What I usually do is start at 4 o'clock and go right down to 10 o'clock. Sometimes I go back to 2 o'clock. I usually assign 8 hours for sleep, but you start your timetable 2 hours before and end it 2 hours after your waking time, in case you have special projects that you want to do. Now, my regular sleeping time is 8 o'clock in the evening until 4 o'clock in the morning. So I often start my timetable at 2 o'clock and carry it over to 10 o'clock. Now, I do not recommend that you timetable anything during 10 and 2, because that's the time for your healing sleep. So we're going to go on a little break. So get your papers together, write up all those headings, and we will be right back to continue our time management workshop and our 20-year development plan.
Since the first public demonstration of radio by Nikola Tesla in 1893, no one ever thought of putting the 2 hours of music together until we created reggae2reggae.com. On reggae2reggae.com, we encourage our listeners with an inclusive, intelligent, and innovative alternative media experience. On reggae2reggae.com, we encourage our listeners with an inclusive, intelligent, and innovative alternative media experience.
Somehow I know it's got to be rearranged. Ooh,
I'm just getting rid of my green mustache as I had my green drink. Oh, absolutely fabulous. Made by one of my assistants, Devano. That's some avocado and barley max and usual stuff. Anyway, back to our time management. And we are looking at how to fill out the first sheet. Today, we are going to look at doing just a 20-year plan for all the different entities and components. Tomorrow, we look at how you do the 15 down to 1 for all the components. And we are going to do the 3-month timetable with a daily timetable and how you put that together, how you slot in all the different mother, daughter, night, and father, son, this and that. So we were using God as an example. Our relationship with the primary relationship, which is with our Creator God, we're using that as the example. And that's how we're going to start again. So you have put in every single thing you need for that relationship. How much time you're going to spend together. And this, at this point, is just putting it down. Because you see, once you get all the times together, how much time you would like to spend, what you would like to achieve, what you would like to do. You know, so many people, when they come to see me and I give them a questionnaire, which is very invasive, say things like, well, you know, I always wanted to teach Sunday school, or I always wanted, you know, one day I want to have a children's home for the children off the street. And I said, so, what do you do in the community? Nothing. I said, you don't go to the community meetings? No. I said, look, you got to start something. You know, you can't have a vision of assisting in some big national project and you don't do any volunteerism on your own right at the gate. Enough said. We do more about that when we talk about community. But you need to understand that your eventual desires and passions and visions and dreams need to start somewhere. And the only place you're going to start is not tomorrow. Now. You've got to do it now. Today, you need to start on it. Because if you don't start today, tomorrow never comes. Right? So, here I am looking at this primary relationship with my Creator. I mean, I did mine. Boy, I tell you, I don't know if I should share all of it with you. Remember, you know, that's, oh yeah, here it is. Whoa. I was talking to a friend this morning and I said, how many, what's the population of the world? Right now it is, well, not right now. Some time ago, last time it was done, that I have available to me. It was 7.5 billion, I think. And part of my vision is to impact the 2 billion of the 7.5 billion who are overweight. 2 billion of the 7.5 billion people in the world are overweight. And that is why we are starting that network called Fat Book. Because out of this Fat Book, you will learn how to lose all the fat, which is really waste in the spiritual area, physical area, and psychological area. because they all go together. You know. Most people who are fat are not fat just because of how much they eat. Although that's a major contributory factor. People eat more than they need because of psychological issues and spiritual issues. That people, the spiritual, I can just give you one example. People eat more than they should because they're stressed. And that's a spiritual issue. People eat more than they should as comfort foods. That's a psychological need. And then the physical thing is, most people eat more than they should, or the wrong things. Call them have too much money. I'm here to tell you that is the curse of, what do I call it? I don't want to call it prosperity. That's not prosperity. But when most people who start to get sick because of the food they eat, start to get sick because they increase their social and financial status. So instead of eating cantaloupe that them grow in their yard every day, they're now having steak and lobster. And you know what that does? Kills you with the fork. Right. So, moving right along. So my plan is in 20 years to impact at least 2 billion people with how they can use this book to reduce their overweightedness and come back into wonderful health. That's one of mine. But I also have a plan to have at least 1 billion in our social network. It's called Celebrate Life. And I haven't completed the name, but it may be Celebrate Life / Fatbook TV. And it's going to be launched in January. Probably, no, I'm going to launch it on the 14th of February, which is Valentine's Day, because guess what? This is a product of love. Our Creator's love for us, so that He gives us the information that we need to be always healthy. And also, Valentine's Day, I'm not thinking about St. Valentine's, but the concept of having a special day where you remind yourself that you need to show love to everybody every day of the year. That's what I'm going to do. So I just decided on that. The 14th of February, we are all going to do this. We are going to launch this great worldwide network. Celebrate life so that you can celebrate every moment of your day, for the rest of your life. Why? Because how on earth can you do that? Why is it related? If you're overweight and you're sick, etc. All right, moving right along. So that's one of mine. Another one is total control for all the resources of my life. The other concept is one of homesteading. I'm telling you my stuff, you know. Homesteading has to do with wherever your home is, wherever you live, whether it's an apartment or a one room or under a tree, you are in total control of all the things that you need for life and godliness. Consequently, you will have a situation where if you cannot provide for yourself all the things I'm talking about, food, clothing, shelter, transportation, education, all the resources that are necessary for life. If you cannot do them all for yourself, then you need to network with a group that will supply for you those things that you cannot supply for yourself. That means I'm well on the way I use solar power. That's my power. We have to get together our water harvesting, right? We have to get together our communication, resources, and all of those things we need to within this homesteading group be in total control, so nobody can come and push you and pull you, right? So this is what we are networking to put together as a part of this social network. That's from my 20 years. Oh, of course, mine to do with this is just continuously living. This is my number one priority, in the presence of my creator. And right now, I'm working on it. But guess what? I come down off of the right place and outside of the presence so often. But guess what? One of the advantages of failure is that you can only move up. And I'm moving up. So I want you to move up with me. So those are three of my objectives for my 20-year plan, especially when it comes to my relationship. All of these are my relationship with my creator. So you get an idea of what you want to do. So that's the first relationship. And the second one is the family now. Oops. Now, first of all, you have to identify where you are in the hierarchy. And remember that if you are in that particular hierarchy, you must go back to our program that we did last week, Tuesday, which would have been about 27th, somewhere like that. But in looking at that plan, you will see where you have to decide, am I under the control of my parents, or have I established my own primary diet, you and your significant other or husband or wife or spouse, and do I now head another little organization of a family? So depending on where you are in the structure to determine where the priorities are. So having established those relationships within your small family unit, where would you like to be at in 20 years? If you currently have children who are 12, then I think you may want to be grandparents. You know, and if you currently have no spouse, you may want to have a spouse and children of X age in 20 years. Do you understand what I'm saying? I am asking you to write down, if you move ahead from now towards a plan for your family, where would you like to be? What resources would you like to have control of? You know, would you like to have had a family home? Would you like to have a family business? Would you like to be able to send your children through university? Whatever. Because I remember when we were born, oh my goodness, way back in the 40s, we were all born in the 40s. I mean, my siblings, right? I was, of course, born in 1949, right on the end of that 10-year period. So you can know that the others are probably a few months older. No, they can be a few months, at least 9 months older. That's my brother, Jonathan, and my sister, Paulette, and my eldest sister, Joyce. And so we are adults of the 40s. And guess what? We all, our father, you know what he did? When we were born, or soon thereafter, he took out these insurance policies for us that matured when we were 18 or 20. And that's a great idea. I am not so much into the insurance policy. No, because I cashed all of them in and invested the proceeds in stuff that I thought was more of a deposit into the building of the kingdom. Right? So what I suggest, however, is that there are several things you can do. You can plant a tree or several trees for each child that is born. You can decide to start a business. How small can be collecting newspaper or bottle or something. But start something that relates to that child that is going to mature in 20 years. And I'm here to tell you, however small a business. You know, I have another lady friend who did baking puddings and selling them for her child's education. And that is what sent our child straight through university. Because if you bake one pudding a day for 20 years, you know how much money, how much pudding you sell? So don't despise small beginnings, and we're going to come back with some more ideas of what you can do for your family in the next segment. Going for a break now. See you in a while from Celebrate Life, Reggae to Reggae, in our time management workshop, where you are going to be empowered on how you can do a 20-year development plan. Gone.
Since the first public demonstration of radio by Nikola Tesla in 1893, no one ever thought of putting the 2 hours of music together until we created reggae2reggae.com. On reggae2reggae.com, we encourage our listeners with an inclusive, intelligent, and innovative alternative media experience.
Dr. Cheryl Chung on reggae2reggae.com. Dr. Cheryl Chung on reggae2reggae.com. Dr. Cheryl Chung. Dr. Cheryl Chung.
I always have to get rid of my that's what you don't lipstick. Follow the line of your lips. Ooh, 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 right? And never do this. And put them together. This part of the heart shape on the top with the bottom section. Alright? So when you go to do our makeup and skincare and stuff like that section, all of that will come in because we cover everything on Celebrate Life, right? So we are into our 20-year development plan, and we just look at family, and we still sort of just doing the ends of family. Well, for family now, you have to get all those relationships in place. What would you like for yourself first within the family? Would you like to be the patriarch of the X number family? Whatever. What would you like in relationship to your spouse? What would you like in relationship to your children? Would you like us to both retire and have a house, a cottage in the country, or buy a house down by the river, or what have you? All right. Then you have in relationship to your children. Would you like them to have, at that point in time, finish university, be doing their doctorates in X or Y? Don't plan for them, in terms of what they must be a part of. But you can plan for things like assisting them with their tertiary education. But guess what? Don't assist them more than assist yourself. Because remember, the number one thing says you must love God first, then love yourself next. Then you love your neighbor, who is everybody else, as yourself. You can't love your neighbor if you don't love yourself. Right. So, what would you like for the children? What would you like for the grandchildren? Because in 20 years, depending on the age of your children, you may or may not have grandchildren. Maybe you would like to go away, relocate, but whatever. You like to make certain contributions through your family to your environment and to your nation and to your world. That's what come out of it. That's one. But have all of that done for your family. Then the next one is your purpose. Now this is so very important because everything else has to dovetail. And I'm always saying this is the most important and that is the most important. The truth is, it is the synchronizing of all of these that will determine how successful you are. It's not about this being more or more important. The only one that I can say is the most important is the same one that Jesus, for example, said was the most important. And he says, love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, soul, mind, and strength, and thy neighbor as thyself, which is what I just spoke about. No, you know what it says after that? On these hang everything else in life. All the other laws, everything else that we need to know hangs on these two major ones. So every time we go into back to foundation, it's like you have a pyramid, right? You have the top one here, but the top one is not supported by the bottom. The top one supports the bottom because it hangs. So this one you have there, and then these two hang from it, and then four hangs from it, and then, understand? Coming down like this, so it's like a pyramid. And that is the only way we can have things in balance. So here we have a situation where our family and everything we do about, no, I passed family already. I'm out of purpose. Purpose. Your purpose cannot be at odds with your family. It cannot be at odds with your relationship to your creator or to any of the others. There are some people who say, well, because I'm a working mom, I can't do much time in the community. Working mom or no working mom, you have to spend time in your community, and you have to spend time with your children. You know what is the worst thing that people do? The worst thing in organizing all of this is that you don't put enough time for yourself. And if you do not put enough time for yourself, you will never be able to develop the inner resources that you need to be able to feed these relationships. Because very often, people are constantly giving out and they don't stock up back. How are you going to feed relationships that you have not stocked up on? How are you going to feed others if you do not feed yourself? I always come back to that suggestion. Put up on the airplane. When you're traveling, it says make sure that you put buckle up for yourself first, and then after that you look at buckling up for your child or whoever's in your care. You may be an older person, doesn't have to be a child, but look to yourself. And the same thing, you cannot make others strong if you are weak. You have got to make sure that you make yourself strong and keep yourself strong. When I say strong, I mean strong in every area. Physical, psychologically, have your mind where it needs to be. Because as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And spiritually, that has to do with being stress-free. How do you maintain stress-freeness? You do this by keeping your spirit aligned with the spirit of your creator. And you will have no stress at any time. Because whenever a challenge faces us, which is usually the genesis of stress, you will know exactly how to deal with it. If you can't physically deal with it yourself, you just put it over on your creator and you just seal, chill. That's the way to go. So remember that in looking at our purpose, we need to understand that we must put everything together to do what we have been called to do, what I have been called to do. This is what my purpose is. Leading other people into their purpose. And so I just drop everything else and just do that. And another person said to me, how can you spend so much time, effort, and money training for X, Y, and Z, and then you sit down, spending so much of your time dancing. That's how I feed myself. And so much of your time not sharing all your information and expertise. So because that's not my purpose. The purpose of my gathering all of these bits of information is so that I can relate to those other people who have the same bits of information. That's the purpose of gathering information, being trained or involved in an area, so that you can relate to other persons who have the same interests or training. Now, when it comes to transmitting information, that's not the information you have to transmit. The only information you have to transmit is what comes out of this book and what is instigated and stimulated by the one creator. Because the creator is the only person who knows what is best for each individual. Regardless of how much training you have, you really don't know what is best. You try. I've tried. You know, I'm not totally frustrated. Not just frustrated, but depressed. I was depressed for a whole year. Why? Because I was just there trying to show everybody how they can come back into health, and they can do this, and they can do that. And everybody said, oh, that's wonderful. And they just jumped in at the deep end and failed. Why? Because the stimulus for doing so was not there. They did not want to really, and they were not willing to make those adjustments that are necessary to come back into health. And then me, at the other end of the pool, was totally depressed because I had put out so much on my heart and my soul and my soul case, everything gone out. And what returns did I get? Next to nil. So I am here to tell you that you need to follow the directives here. That is why, after you have done your best to learn everything and be involved in any area of training that you have available to you, that is what I encourage. Because what that does is broadens, widens the arenas of influence that you will be able to now use when you become a zero. And remember, if you want to know about the zero, you have to go and listen to our last Shabbat Shalom program, which is on Saturday gone, and our last Lord's Day, how to become a zero and have maximum value. All right, so that's how you fulfill your purpose. Because as you attempt to fulfill your purpose, you are only going to do and say the things that your creator have put in the plan that he has for you, because the plan is not to hurt you or to harm you, but to give you a hope and a future, to make you successful and prosperous. Everybody, regardless of what your challenge is, whether you are mentally challenged, physically challenged, spiritually challenged, socially challenged, financially challenged, or any other alley challenged, there is a way out. And the way is patching in to the plan that your creator has given you in this. That's how you will get your purpose sewn up together. We'll be right back as we go into the next item, which is your spiritual family. See you in a while.
Since the first public demonstration of radio by Nikola Tesla in 1893, no one ever thought of putting the 2 R's of music together until we created Reggae2Reggae.com. On Reggae2Reggae.com, we encourage our listeners with an inclusive, intelligent, and innovative alternative media experience.
On reggae2reggae.com. Dr. Sherille Chung 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 on reggae2reggae.com. Dr. Sherille.
Oh my. These words have been spoken by my master. They will come to pass. With all this injustice, this
One. Okay, we're back. I'm out of breath. I just ran for a bathroom break. You know, when you're on this water diet thing and you're having a lot of water, if you're having 8 to 12 cups of water a day, you need to probably do 8 to 12 deposits of water. And so, because that is in addition to all of the liquids that you're having. But it's a wonderful way, because then you're just constantly being rehydrated and constantly being cleansed. And I'm telling you, it's the best way to get rid of inflammation, infection, conditions that are caused by dehydration. Dehydration contributes to every known condition. I know somebody, good friend of mine, who is lying in the state of consciousness but not communication for 12 years. And one of the main things that is maintained is that every 2 hours there is a 1, 2, 3, 4 glass flush. Every 2 hours, a 4 cups of water flush to the system. So there is nothing that can stay in there for any length of time. That's how important water is. Thinking about it. So we're back on our 20-year plan. As you do that, put water into your 20-year plan if you want to stay healthy and clear, clean, detoxed. All right. So we were just doing purpose, and we're now going to do spiritual family. So on the top of your spiritual family thing, you're going to now put down a 20-year plan, spiritual family. Where would you like to be in 20 years regarding your spiritual family? If it's your church, I would like to be the deacon or whatever that I would be able to develop my gifts. I want to be able to contribute, because all about what you're going to give, you know, because what you're going to give is a precursor to what you're going to get. The principle of sowing and reaping. So remember that as you look at spiritual family, you are looking at those who have the same philosophy. You need to get together and link up with these persons because they give you energy. They do. You know, sometimes I sit and say, I wish I could find somebody to go on this cruise with me. Or I wish I could find somebody to come to the country with me. Or I say, I wish I could find somebody to just go hang out down at the Pegasus and drink a cup of soup. I do that all the time. And a lot of times I go all by myself. Why? Because very often the people who would jump at the chance to go with me don't have the same value system. Nothing wrong with them, you know. It's just that we don't think the same way. And as a result of that, we don't I wouldn't enjoy the company, especially when I'm in a contemplative mood and stuff like that. I know the persons who I would love to hang out with in these situations. And it's not even to chat or anything. You just want to hang out because you like the same things and you are never tired of being in their company. And those are your soulmates, right? So when you have 1, 2, or 200, those are your spiritual family. You're comfortable with them. You share the same value system, the same way of life. You have the same sort of general goals and objectives. Hi, soulmate, right? And so all of those who synchronize with my value systems, call me, give me a call. I'd love to hang out with you sometimes physically. You know, even if some of you are all the way overseas and I can't get a chance to see you in the flesh, to pinch you and stuff like that. But anyway, moving right along, remember that that's part of your spiritual family. Those people who you can just sit down and say nothing to. But on most occasions, they're just chatting, or they are sharing with you. So remember that that is an important part of your 20-year plan. Where would you like to be? Maybe you'd like to be in a commune. I love that, living in a commune. So you have a physical, environment where you live in your hut over there, and you live in your hut over there, and we share these things together. All of that is a part of your goals way ahead relating to your spiritual family. And then after that, we have our community. And remember, you gotta get together. In 20 years, you need to be the mayor of your community or to have made significant impact on your community. You need to be at the place where you know all your community, you have interacted with your community, and maybe you have moved on to another community. But the issue is that you must never be forgotten in your community because of what you saw while you're there, whether you live in a retirement village, or you live in a little town, or you live way out in the country. You have a community and you need to interact with them. I'm talking about your physical community. So get involved in whatever community activities they are, so that this thing is reciprocal. There's nothing you do that doesn't come back to you. Cast your bread upon the waters, and many days it will come back to you. And that is what life is all about. After your community, there's your nation. And we look at all the different things that we do or do not do to impact the health of our nation. And as a result, we need to bear in mind the fact that we must impact our nation positively. A lot of times when you do nothing, you are making a positive impact. If you do not get involved, and let me explain that, if you don't get involved in all the hype and all the complaining about what is not right, those things are a positive impact if you don't get involved in it. But if you don't get involved in being a part of the solution, then that is a negative impact. So we need to weigh by our passivity or activity whether we are making a positive or negative impact on the development of our nation, because everybody makes a contribution. Moving right now into the last item, which is our world. And yesterday, we need to understand that we were looking at the greening of the Caribbean. And of course, we know all the world issues that we are grappling with the global warming and and the seas going to cover the whole earth in another 20 years, and horse dead and coal fat. All of us have made a contribution to all the global issues. We can now turn around and make a contribution to a solution to these global issues. We can be a part of the solution. How? by joining our network. Celebrate life, because we need to be able to celebrate life on this planet. And if we don't be a part of the solution, we will not have a planet worth celebrating. So please put that in your pipe and smoke it. Imbibe that in your being and analyze it. Don't put it in your pipe, because smoking is not good for you, regardless of what you're smoking. And you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of a current issue. You heard that they're starting up marijuana, marijuana factory? Yes. Now, I don't know why they're doing a marijuana factory. They need to do a hemp factory. I wonder what they're going to do, use marijuana to make. Because marijuana is really reference to when we smoke this thing. And we are not advocating the smoking of this thing at all. Because that is the worst thing you can do with marijuana, smoking. That is when it is going to change your mindset. It's called mind-altering drugs. But I'm here to tell you, you want to get the therapeutic use? Just take off the seeds like flaxseed. I eat them. Boom! Good stuff, man. Or you can use the leaves and make juice. Put something into your juice. Now, I am just telling you what they're good for. I'm not telling you what to do with them. So let me back up. If you did this, then this would be the result. Not recommending nothing. Read my lips. All right. But the leaves have therapeutic. The stems, we can take it and make wood. We can take it and make clothes. We can take it and make juice. We can take it and make supplements. You can take it. Whoa! Remember that we can impact this global health, state of the globe. So we want to put down on our 20-year plans. What do we plan to do? Where would we like this globe to be because of our contribution in 20 years? That is what you must write down. And then when we look at the other time frames, we look at how do we start to get there. That's the whole objective. So we have gone through all the relationships. And so if you have not completed it, because I don't think you can complete this on the show, at least you have all the headings up, you have your 7 pages, you have the format, and then you are going to now fill in all this information. So by tomorrow when you come back on, listen please, you need to be ready to work on the 15-year down to the 1 year, so that you can now see how to put together the plan in a time frame. So remember, this is our time management workshop, doing our 20-year life development plan. And we want to invite you to come back tomorrow and bring a few friends with you, because every single person needs to have this information. See you tomorrow on Celebrating Life with From Reggae to Reggae with Cheryl Jones. See you tomorrow.
On reggae2reggae.com. Dr. Cheryl Chung on reggae2reggae.com. Dr. Cheryl Chung on reggae2reggae.com. Dr. Cheryl Chung on reggae2reggae.com.
Could never